Have you ever heard a question that seems to hang in the air, full of mystery and meaning? In the world of a rather extraordinary book, one such question is whispered everywhere, from the grandest offices to the humblest street corners. It is a simple phrase, yet it carries the weight of a world's despair and confusion. Who is John Galt? This question is the very heartbeat of Ayn Rand's monumental novel, Atlas Shrugged. It is a question that at first signifies a sense of hopelessness, a shrug of the shoulders when things go wrong and no one knows why. It is a way of saying, what can you do, or who is to blame? It is the sound of a society giving up piece by piece. But as we journey through this remarkable story, we discover that the question is far more than just a sigh of resignation. It is a key. It is a clue that unlocks the central mystery of the entire narrative. Imagine a world not unlike our own, but where the lights are slowly dimming. This is the setting of Atlas Shrugged. It is a version of the United States in the not-so-distant future. A place where the spirit of innovation and progress seems to be fading away like a setting sun. The nation's economy is in a state of perpetual crisis. Businesses are failing not because of a lack of demand, but because of a tangled web of bewildering government regulations and a pervasive public sentiment that condemns success as something selfish and immoral. It is a landscape of decay, where train lines rust and great factories grind to a halt. In this world, we meet our protagonist, a truly remarkable woman named Dagny Taggart. She is the vice president in charge of operations for Taggart Transcontinental, the nation's largest railroad. One of the most striking ideas in Atlas Shrugged is its bold defense of self-interest. Now, this is a concept that often makes us feel a little uncomfortable. We are frequently taught that being selfish is a bad thing, that we should always put the needs of others before our own. But Ayn Rand presents a very different perspective. She argues that rational self-interest is not just acceptable, but it is a profound virtue. It is the engine that drives all human progress. Consider the simple act of a baker waking up before dawn to bake bread. Is he doing it purely for the good of the community? In part, perhaps. But his primary motivation, the story would suggest, is his own self-interest. He wants to run a successful business, to provide for his family, to take pride in his craft. At the very core of Ayn Rand's philosophy is a profound reverence for the human mind. In Atlas Shrugged, the mind is not just a tool for thinking. It is the source of all value, all progress, and all survival. The book celebrates the thinkers, the innovators, and the creators as the true heroes of humanity. It's not muscle or raw materials that build a civilization, but the creative thought that figures out how to use them. A pile of iron ore is just a pile of rocks until a mind envisions a bridge, a rail, or a skyscraper. Think of it like a single seed. The seed itself holds immense potential, but it's worthless until a mind, a farmer's mind, understands the principles of soil, water, and sunlight. It's the farmer's knowledge, planning, and action that transforms that tiny seed into a harvest that can feed a village. Dagny Taggart and Hank Rearden are like these farmers of industry. They see potential where others see only problems. Dagny sees a thriving railroad where others see only rusted tracks. And Rearden sees a revolutionary new metal where others see only a complex chemical formula. Their minds are their greatest assets, the engines of their production. As the world of Atlas Shrugged descends further into chaos, we begin to understand the central mystery, the disappearance of the great minds. It is not a random occurrence, it is a deliberate act. It is a strike. But this is no ordinary strike of workers demanding higher wages. This is a strike of the thinkers, the creators and the producers. It is a strike of the mind. Led by the enigmatic John Galt, the world's most brilliant individuals are quietly withdrawing their talents from a society that exploits and condemns them. They are abandoning their factories, their laboratories, and their art studios, and vanishing into a hidden valley in the mountains. This is the novel's most dramatic and revolutionary idea. It turns the traditional narrative of labor on its head. The story suggests that the most essential workers in any society are not those who perform physical labor, but those who provide the ideas, the vision, and the organization that make that labor productive. The strike is a quiet, passive rebellion. The strikers do not use violence or protest in the streets. They simply withdraw their greatest asset, their minds, and watch as the world they once supported crumbles under the weight of its own flawed philosophy. Decades after it was written, Atlas Shrugged continues to provoke intense debate. Its ideas are challenging, controversial, and for many, deeply inspiring. But why does this story of railroads and industrialists still resonate so strongly today? I believe it is because the questions it raises are timeless. It asks us to examine the very foundations of our own world. What do we value most, individual achievement or collective security? These are not abstract philosophical questions. They are at the heart of our daily news headlines, our political debates, and even our personal career choices. The book serves as a mirror, reflecting our own societal tendencies. We can see its themes playing out in discussions about taxation, government regulation, and the role of entrepreneurship. When we hear debates about whether successful tech companies should be broken up or more heavily regulated, we are touching upon the central conflict of Atlas Shrugged. It also speaks to a deeply personal human need, the desire for our work and our lives to have meaning. The heroes of Atlas Shrugged are driven by a passionate love for their work. They find joy and purpose in creation and achievement. The book champions the idea that a life of purpose is a life lived by one's own standards, pursuing one's own rational goals. In a world that can sometimes feel overwhelming and chaotic, this message of individual agency and personal responsibility can be incredibly empowering. The story asks who carries the world on their shoulders. But perhaps the more important question for us today is this: what is the engine that drives your own world? What is it that you create, produce, or contribute, not because you are forced to, but because it gives you a sense of purpose and pride? By exploring that question, we may just find our own way to keep the lights from dimming, ensuring our own small corner of the world remains a place of reason, purpose, and progress.